So we did an analysis on Airbnb in New York. And so we took the bin limits from 0 to 1500 to 16 and above. And we did the histogram and we found uh, that an estimate close to 100 with close to, a little close to 25,000 renters in this range, which was the most, and the least was 11 out of, not 11, 1400 out of 10. We took the pie chart of the five different boroughs, and we found that Manhattan had the largest percentage, and the Staten Island was the smallest, and while Brooklyn and Queens was the most popular in second and third, respectively. And for the neighborhood group, we found that Manhattan was the highest in ground total and had the highest entire home, apartment, and Airbnbs. And Staten Island had the smallest for shared room. And it was Staten Island was the smallest in grand total of 373,000. And we took the probability of, let's say, for instance, probability of an entire home in Queens, 8%, probability of renting up in the borough of Brooklyn, which is 41%, probability of renting a shared room only in Manhattan, which was 2%. And here we have a chart showing the types of rooms in different boroughs. Next, we had the analyze the minimum number of nights. We took the box and whiskers, and the minimum was one. The maximum was 1,250, and the median was three. And when you look at the quartiles, one was for quartile one and five for quartile three. We took the descriptive to statistics. We found that the average price in New York was $152.72, while the median was about $106. The mode was about 100, and the minimum was 0, and the max was 10,000. For the number of reviews, it was 23.275 was the average. The median was about 5, and the mode was 0. And we found that the minimum nights was 7.030, rounding up respectively. The median was 3, the mode was 1. And we took a look at the pivots. We found that in the average price of neighborhoods, the Queens was not Queens, Brooklyn was the lowest on average price, $87.50. And the highest was Manhattan at $196.88. So taking a look at the average, Brooklyn and Queens are one of the most popular neighborhoods at $124.38 for Brooklyn, uh, $99.52 for Queens, and Staten Island, since it's the smallest percentage, it was averaged at $114.81. And if you look at the average price per night, Manhattan was the highest in $249.24, and the Bronx was the lowest in a shared room for $59.80. And if we take a look at the reviews, 441 got the highest at the value of 575, and the lowest was 388 at $29. and looking at the average price per night of at the bar chart, you had Manhattan at the highest and Bronx at the lowest. And then we took a look at the minimum number of nights. The highest was 230 dollars, $320, pardon me, and the lowest was $66.38 at 22 minimum nights. So we took a look at the regression. For the equation, it was sale per room equals room type times 114.332 minus 3.145 times the neighborhood group and plus 116.823. We found that there was 48,895 observations, and the adjustment was 0.077. And so we found there's a correlation between room type and price at 0.2559, and the correlation between the neighborhood and the price was negative 0.195. The so so the room price is so the room type is not a predictor of the price, but the correlation between the neighborhood group and the price, neighborhood group was not a predictor of the price. So if you see the p-value for room type and neighborhood group respectively, the p-value stood at 0, the location stood at 0, and for the f-stat, it was at 2000, 2051.438. I'm just actually rounding out those numbers. So in the overall analysis, we found that Manhattan was the highest, and it was actually the most popular. So anything because 575 had the highest price reviews. It may have been contributed to a number of factors that could have included the quality of service, the vibe of the neighborhood. For the price of $29, it concluded that it may have contributed to the least amount of the quality of of the room that have been contributed, and the number of nights was actually the number of nights on average, not on average, how many it was per night. So how many, but in but at the but what we found was that uh, the correlation had to do with had to do with had to do with the market value in each borough, based on popularity. As you know, Manhattan, Brooklyn tend to be the most popular boroughs in New York City.